Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Pursuit 365 podcast, Real Estate and Finance Fridays. I am today blessed to be joined by our founder, Shelly Lynn Hughes. Shelly, thank you for coming on the podcast. I know we've talked about this over the last few months. We finally found a time and a space to do this, and I just wanted to put a shout out to you. It's Real Estate and Finance Fridays, and today we're going to discuss with Shelly, the other Shelly that doesn't have an E before the Y, which when we first met, I thought, I don't know any other Shelly without an E before the Y. But we're going to discuss with Shelly Lynn Hughes how she's created her and manifested her publishing empire. I'm going to call it an empire. Basically from scratch. Welcome, Shelly.
Well, thank you for having me, Shelly. That's I'm honored to be here with you. I've known you for so many years, and we've talked about doing this, and we're both so busy that sometimes our schedules don't match. But we're making it happen today, as we do in manifestation.
As we do. So, one of the things that really attracted me to becoming a part of your 365 books, for anybody who hasn't really dived into this and looked at what our network involves, can you explain to the viewers how Pursuit 365 came about? Because, I mean, it seems like COVID's a bad dream now, but you had a publishing adventure or venture, I guess I should say,
Yes.
before 365 with Fresh Make. But what was your impetus to get into the next level?
Well, when Fresh Magazine first started, it's probably around 13 years ago now. We started off as a local Vancouver women's publication, a local magazine. I noticed that there wasn't any women's magazines in Vancouver. I found a niche in the market because I travel around the world, mostly in the United States, and I realized that we didn't have this in Vancouver. I thought, well, why doesn't Vancouver have a women's magazine? And when I did that, that's when we were in basically coffee shops and fashion, like in clothing stores and spas and salons. And then with Fresh Magazine, I noticed like later on after about a year, so we were basically Vancouver's first women's publication, free publication. And then from there, I noticed about a year later, well, I didn't really feel that the magazines in Canada, well, in the United States as well, but specifically where we are in Canada here, I noticed that they weren't really featuring a lot of women 35, 40 plus. It's like and nowadays things are changing, but there was no value. There was no point in putting a woman on the cover. I mean, in these people, in these publishing minds, that was 50 years old or 60 years old or 70 years old. And so I thought, well, there's two things with that. I thought, well, how can I get my message out there that women 40 plus are still valuable? We are valuable. We give to society. We're intelligent. We're still beautiful. So I thought, well, how can I get my message out there? Well, spas and salons. So then I teamed up with a distribution company for skincare and hair care products, and we ended up teaming up, and I ended up distributing through their distribution system to 3,000 spas and salons across Canada. Lovely, great relationship, got our message out there. So that's how we became a national across Canada magazine. So you'd walk into a spa and salon, sitting on their coffee table was a Fresh magazine. And with that allowed me to work with so many incredible Canadian women like Jan Arden, like Pamela Anderson, like Sarah McLaughlin, Leslie Diamond from the Gordon Leslie Diamond Healthcare Center. So now that my point with that was, again, going back to, let's not just give the most, young, beautiful woman a voice. Let's give all women of all ages a voice. So we did that for many years, but then COVID came. I was in the middle of a divorce, by myself at home full time with my two young daughters, both, one of them, in the single digits, one just hitting the double digits. And all of a sudden my distribution system was gone. So my advertisers were gone through COVID and my distribution. So what was
Well,
I going
because
to
spas
do?
had to close. I mean, how heartbreaking. How many of those spas actually survived the COVID
They
shutdown?
couldn't pay their lease or their rent
Oh,
anymore. They couldn't pay their
devastating.
mortgage, lease, rent, mortgage, everyone.
Yeah,
Like, what do you do? So it's not just me, but it was
yeah.
many businesses. And this goes into Pursuit 365 as well. So I'm at home and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, how? And again, I've been a magazine. I also had my own products in magazines. So I did an exclusive skincare label for Pharmacy of Canada, which is 800 plus stores. I did that for them. I've also had a skincare line that was in medical spas across Canada and some locations in the United States. I was involved with a distribution company for a dental tool. So I had my hands in a few different things.
You're a serial entrepreneur.
Yes. I just see opportunities and I'm like, let's
Yeah,
do this. Let's do it. So, but at this point, I wasn't involved with those anymore. You know, like I said, I'd
yeah.
either sold those off or I didn't see them of value anymore for making money. So I kind of let those go. So I was starting fresh with Fresh Magazine during just before COVID started. Now, at that point in time, this is all going to make sense, by the way. At that point in time, I was invited to speak at the United Nations in New York, representing Canadian women entrepreneurs for International Women's Day. With that, I know it was crazy, right? Alongside 6 or 7 other incredible women entrepreneurs, of which I was probably as far as financial making money, I was the lowest on the totem pole. So we got asked to do this. I was super stoked about it. I was excited. My business was doing okay. COVID hits. All of a sudden, I don't get to go to New York. And my business is now struggling again. So at home, COVID, thinking to myself, likely what I need at this point in time in history and in my life is likely what other women need or humans need at this point in time. So I thought, well, what do I need? I need a community around me because I can't leave my house. So I need to connect with people through virtual. Um, I need people to hear my story. I need people to hear me. I need people to understand what I'm going through because I need a community and I need friends, right? Because like I said, we're not meeting in person
Mm.
anymore. And number 3, I need money because I need to feed my children through this time. Uh, I wasn't getting a ton of money from my ex-husband, and there I was with these 2 little kids. So I thought, oh, what can I do? And then all the ideas, well, I can't distribute a magazine anymore. So why don't I bring people to the magazine's website? Well, if I bring someone there every single day of the year, that's going to create some traffic if I feature them. So I thought, okay, well, what's your mission, Shelly? What are you on the pursuit for? And actually, a girl that used to work with me, Andrea, she came up with the word pursuit. I didn't. She's like, Shelly, you're constantly on the pursuit, both personally and professionally, which I am. I'm always on a constant pursuit for health, and I'm always on a constant pursuit for business. So that's how Pursuit 365 was born. I went to 365 of my friends and clients and colleagues, and I said, hey, I'm going to charge you a nominal amount of money so I feature your business on the website because I'm going to
Mhm.
support you on your website and bring people to your site. But on the other side, I want you to tell your personal story or I want you to share something inspirational so that others can be inspired from you. So there, and with that, I'm building a community around these 365 women. And so there, I was supporting personally, I was supporting professionally, and I was building a community at the same time. And really, Shelly, like, I don't know if it was 8 weeks later or 12 weeks later, we had an entire
It was
365
sold
women.
out. It was sold out because I remember when I committed, for me, it was like, oh, I love writing. And, I have been really working on my public speaking and I've been teaching at the brokerage. And to me, it was just a no brainer. It was like, oh my God, this is like an opportunity to publish, to write and share what I've learned through my, at that point, it was probably 23 or 24 years in business. And the group of women that came together for the first book, I mean, the subsequent books are great as well. But I mean, when you had the conference, early in this year, and we all got together. It was like, wow, yeah, this is an amazing group of people. And it really did just gel. It was like everybody, I think, that at least that I know, that I knew personally, that just committed to the project, all had the same sort of values of, no, like, we have something valuable to share. Every person's experience is valid. And, the more we read about other people's experience, the more you realize, oh, I'm not alone in this, because being an entrepreneur is not for sissies, you know.
No.
It's and especially in a commission-based business, you never know where your next paycheck's coming from. So you got to trust something, and, trusting your gut and trusting the universe to provide an understanding when you see an opportunity, that you can't just wait. I mean, you were sold out in 6 weeks, right? Six or
It was
seven
like,
weeks.
I don't know if it was 6 or 12 weeks. And yeah, it wasn't very long, put it that way. It was the fastest selling thing that I've ever been involved in. But I did it where it was a price point that most people could afford.
Accessible. Yeah.
And I had to employ an entire team for 365 days of the year to get it out there. I can't do the website uploads. I couldn't do a lot of the stuff. So yeah, we were sold out, and we were it came out on International Women's Day, and we were bestsellers in Canada on Amazon that day, and we built a beautiful community. And now we've had 3 books. We've almost got our 4th book coming out, and a lot of these women have been in all 4 of the books. They're like, I'm back. And I love that. That just shows that we are a true community.
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, I hadn't actually thought about this until we were speaking yesterday, but you actually have really inspired me to become more active on social networks, because as sort of a, Gen Xer, pre I graduated high school before they had computers. Doesn't that make you feel old? Before, I think the year we were graduating, they were just putting like the Apple II, the little tiny Apple with the little tiny um, monitor. They were just putting those in schools. Like, that's 85. It blows my freaking mind that I just got an invite to my 40th high school reunion next
Oh my
year.
gosh, it's hard to believe, right?
Right?
Congratulations. But that's hard to believe how time just goes like that. And and we think that we don't have time, but it does go by fast. But every single day matters, what you do and the decisions you make.
Exactly. And I really have to thank you for inspiring me to, step out of my comfort zone of getting more presence online, and understanding that digital marketing is where pretty much every business needs to go now. Like, you cannot
Yes.
you cannot exist in, certainly in real estate. I mean, if you don't put out reels, and like, there is an expectation in society now that if you don't have a presence for your business, and that, to me, I really struggle with, oh, I need to be a personal brand. But you know what? I
You
chose
do.
to name integrity for our team, because my brand is, I don't cut corners. I do my business with integrity, and I may not be the richest or the flashiest realtor in the lower mainland, but I know that I've got clients I've had for 20 years. And actually, the deal I was doing yesterday that came together last night, I have done, I think, 5 deals with that family now over the last 25 years.
And that's because you have integrity, and that's because you love what you do. And there's a bigger picture of than just making the one sale and making the money and walking away. Like, you actually have integrity and you care about your client.
I really do. But that's also what I've come to realize is that you attract what you put out. And, it's been really interesting over the last few years as our books have come out, and as I've, really honed in on being back in my personal brand or being back in my business 100% and not trying to do everything for everybody, that other opportunities are coming forward for doing more of hobbies and doing more things that when I look at, okay, what's driving me to do these things, it's the connection. It's the connection with the people in those spheres that enriches me, and hopefully, our friendships and our connections enriches each other, but it's being part of community. And with your 365 Pursuit 365 community, there are so many role models and so many people that you can reach out to and say, hey, we're both in the same network. I've got this challenge, and just having that network of not just women, because I thought it was really smart and very in the spirit of collaboration that this project is, to include men as well in the subsequent issues, because we got to have the balance of energy in the world.
Well, I've changed my business where it's more for a business for humans as opposed to a business for women. The first book
Or
only came about that way because that was the majority of my connections, because that was what
right,
Fresh Magazine was about, and then also International Women's Day.
right.
But also going through my divorce and being now a full-time single mother, I've very much realized the importance and the value and the respect that we as women need to give to good men, that
Mm-hmm.
are good men, that are good to women, that are good to children, that are present in women's lives in a positive way. And I think that when we stick on a negative train towards men, not all men are bad. My dad
No,
is amazing. My brothers are amazing. I have got some really good guy friends in my life that are amazing. And I find sometimes we as women, oh, here, like we're women, hear us roar. Yeah, we've lost you know, the connections, and we've got to get back to being, we're humans.
we're all in this together, whether we like it or not. And if we don't like it, I think we need to examine that. And um, I've certainly found, okay, how does this relate to real estate and finance, our discussion? I think having a positive attitude and having a network that you can rely on when you're either building a business or doing a role in any type of business, we need the energy of all of us.
We do
And
need
if
the
we
energy.
if we if we cut out somebody just because of their gender and have a blanket statement about them because they belong to or they identify with, because that's another thing in our
Identify.
world. Like it's very easy to become politically incorrect if you're not on
Absolutely.
board with I mean, I'm older and I have a gay stepson. And watching his struggle when he was coming out was really heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. But now he's claimed who he is, and he's
I love that.
always was a wonderful human. But he has a masculinity. He didn't give up his masculinity per se, but it's not necessarily the same kind of masculinity as somebody else. And that's okay. So, within the aspect of business, one of the things that I really worked on in the last year with a business coach was finding a way to reclaim my feminine and not have to act like the
Like a dude,
typical
like a man.
gendered man, like
Exactly.
right. And as women, I think in business we do often, especially earlier in our careers and earlier in our youth, we figure we have to be tough, we have to be brash. We have to act a certain way to get respect,
Mm-hmm.
when you know coming into now a little bit more softer approach, and understanding that I'm me. I get to be me, and with warts and all. Take it or leave it. And
I
you
love
find
being a
your
woman.
tribe, and your tribe finds you. If people, I'm not for everybody. I know that. I used to want to be for everybody, and I've realized that, you know what? That's impossible.
But
It's
Shelly, don't you
impossible.
love being a woman?
I
Like,
do.
I think going into a business room with the feminine energy, but also the masculine energy, there's a lot of strength to that. My favorite people have a very, very good balance within them of masculine qualities and feminine qualities, masculine energy, feminine energy. If whether it's a born male or female, coming off too far on one end and coming off the other. I love people that are the balance, so they can be soft and gentle when need be, and they can be firm when need be, and strong when they need be. So I have my nails done, I get my lashes done. I love dressing up, I love wearing heels. But on the other hand, when I walk into a boardroom, I might look a certain way, but I'm still strong.
Mm-hmm.
So finding that balance between the two of them is actually the way to go when you're looking for your personal branding to help your business branding.
Well, and people have often said to me, how do you do it? And I think when I really look at all the different qualities, that I know I bring to the table, being a fair negotiator and listening. I mean, those are really important qualities that, as a woman, I've found that sometimes I don't feel like I was heard or I wasn't taken seriously, but that was because I was not speaking in an authoritative and voice. Like
Mhm.
finding your voice, especially when you're in a highly high stakes type of world. When
Yes.
you're negotiating, you can't be necessarily soft. You can be firm and kind. You don't have to be a jerk,
No, you don't have to
but
be a
you
jerk
need
at
to be
all.
firm. You need to be able to have the confidence to stand in your own ground of what you know
My
is.
one of my good friends, Tracy Holly, actually, she's a speaker, wonderful person I've known for many, many, many years. She would call it the three F's, and I love it: friendly, frank, and firm.
I love it.
The three F's. It's like, I don't know. She was going to do a book about it. I don't even know if she did, but the three F's friendly. And that's exactly it. You can get your point across by being friendly and frank and firm. Don't be a BSer. I love it.
Exactly, exactly. One of the other things that I found really, sort of interesting as well over the last year, as I worked with a business coach, and I resisted doing that for a little while because I thought, oh, I don't need a coach. I'm teaching people. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Why would I hire a coach? And then when I did hire a coach, I was like, oh, I have boundary issues.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, I know.
And
But then
we
you get
worked on
better.
that for the year. And it was like, since I've become really clear in my boundaries of what I can say yes to and what I say no to, and then what doesn't get an immediate response, because it's okay to process. It's okay to say to somebody, you know what, that sounds really interesting, but I'm just going to need a moment. And have that strength and that power within yourself to not let your own, course be swayed off by having to please people. And um, it actually had me write a poem about it. It just came to me, and I turned it into a song.
Oh yeah,
So it's
that's
like,
how you
by
guys.
putting boundaries around, um, my business life and my personal life, I was able to find a little bit more time to do some things that I've always wanted to do.
Oh,
And
wow.
that in which was doing some songwriting. And that has made my business better. Like, it's weird, right? It's like, okay, well, I have a great team of guys that I work with.
Yeah.
And, we support each other, and we try and make sure that each one of us has a bit of time off every week.
Yeah.
But I found time to do more hobbies, which made me a happier human, which in turn shows up in
In your
how I can
business.
relate to my business, and how I am just feeling like
Again,
a more well-adjusted person, right?
it goes back to the balance, right? It's
Yeah.
about balance. It all comes down to balance in relationships and business and how you and yourself. Really, it is.
Mhm.
I
Well,
was going to say something you said about the coach, which I find really interesting for
sure.
me, anyways, that someone taught me is, or even having a mentor, which is really important no matter where you are in life. So either a business coach or personal coach or mentor. But we always think about having either a mentor or a personal coach as someone that's older, right? That you can look up to. But I think it's really important in this day and age, especially in our age group, to have someone younger as well. So you've got both. Because there's a lot going on. I mean, it's so funny the other day with my daughter in the car. Now, this is just my 9-year-old. I think I went and learned a whole bunch of the slang that they're using.
Oh my goodness.
So all the way to school, it was a 5-minute drive. I just kept using her slang over and over again. And it was so funny. It was so funny. She's like, Mom, you're so weird. And I'm like, because Ohio apparently means weird. Anyway, so I do think it's so important to have mentors that are older and younger, or coaches that are older and younger.
Definitely because the world's evolving. I mean, it's evolving at a pace that, how do you even keep up with it? Well, you just have to be in your authentic self and do what you need to do, and, find your place in serving how you think you need to serve. And that's another point that I've come to realize is really part of who I am. I love doing things from a place of service. And, sometimes, but now that I have better boundaries, I don't feel obligated to do things. I
No.
choose to do the things that I want to do, and I choose to work with the people that I want to work with. And, when I'm coaching newer agents, or even there's even some points that I make when I'm teaching a class. Getting your self-esteem organized is the best thing you can do for your business.
Yeah.
And it's, I say to people, and I get a bit of flack for it, because it's kind of like one of those hard truths that's sometimes difficult to hear if you're not ready. But if you can't get your self-esteem in place, you can't expect to earn in a business that's a commission-based business.
And you've got to
Because
get yourself out
if you
there.
don't believe in yourself, why is anybody else going to believe in you?
Yeah, and you've got to put yourself out into the world. You got to kind of stop and go, okay, what can I do differently to put myself out into the world in a positive way?
Exactly.
You can't be doing it by just sitting at home all the time.
No, you can't. You got to get out there and talk to the people, and get off your devices once in a while, even though we're filming this on a device and people are going to watch it on a device.
Yes. Still get
It's
out to the world.
still about the human connection, I believe, when it comes right down to it. I don't think an AI bot is going to be able to do an open house for me. I'll need to be there.
You'll need to be there. So I'm going to ask you a question. So for you, Pursuit 365 has been a positive experience, and it's helped you manifest, and it's helped you achieve a few of the goals that you put out there, correct?
Yes, because, well, this is something that I learned really, really early on, actually, from sport.
Mm.
Back when I was in junior high school and even in elementary school, at the beginning of each diving season, we had to write down what our goals were, and we had to write down the dives we wanted to learn. Like, we had to keep a journal of our training journal. And it was amazing because once you put it in the journal or once you made it as a goal on paper, you were accountable.
Yes.
And if you're having a bad day or you just did a big smack off 10-meter and you're crying and you like don't want to go back up there, the coach has your book and says, you said you wanted to do this. So when I saw the 365 opportunity to write something
Mm-hmm.
meaningful, that might just be meaningful to me, but because of the nature of what you asked us to do, meaningful for humans. My experience is meaningful to me, but it's probably just meaningful to other people that are going to read that and identify and go, oh my God, somebody else is feeling that same thing or going through that same thing that I went through, that I thought I was the only one. And that was a great opportunity to, be able to write and hone some writing chops, because self-expression, and whether it's self-expression or whether it's technical writing the blurbs for my listings has always been my favorite thing
Oh,
about having a listing, and staging and stuff too, but that's all the
yeah.
fluffy stuff. But the writing, the expression, the sharing,
Yeah.
it just resonated with me. And that's why pretty much everything that I wrote about where I'd like to go and what I see, what's happened and what I see happening in the future as a goal has coming true. So it works, people. You have to get it down on paper, whether you want to share it with the world or whether you just want to keep it to yourself in your journaling. I'm a huge proponent of journaling and writing.
For
So
sure.
thank you, Shelly. That was a
Oh,
great
well,
opportunity.
thank you for having trust in me and trust in my team and trust in what we're doing as a whole for, hopefully inspiring people. And I want every person to feel heard. I want everyone to feel valuable. I don't want anyone to, as they say in Hawaii, it's ohana. I want
Yeah.
everyone to feel heard and valued and no one left behind. And I think sometimes in life, we just need one person to listen, and that one person can make a difference. We don't think we can make a difference, but we really can.
What do they say? A smile is like a pebble on a pond. It just goes out there and radiates. And even if it's just acknowledging. Sometimes when I'm out for a walk in my neighborhood, I'll say hello to people, and sometimes people are like, I don't know you.
Yeah, they're like, that's weird.
But all the older Italian people in the neighborhood are like so happy that you actually said hello, because it's a very European thing.
Yeah.
If you're in Europe and you walk down a street and you don't acknowledge somebody or say hello, they know that you're a tourist and they think you're a heathen. Because
Yeah.
it's like, why would you not greet a fellow human on in your day, right?
Right. Why wouldn't you
So
do that?
yeah, no, and one of my friends who spent a lot of time in Hungary, she went back to Hungary to, learn about her culture because her parents immigrated here during the war.
Mhm.
Um, she got schooled in, you know, all of her older aunts and stuff were like, no, this is how we do it in Europe. You
Yeah.
you have you respect your fellow people, and that first thing is when you walk down the street and you see somebody, you smile and say hello or good morning or good evening or good afternoon or whatever it is. There's a greeting, and it's an acknowledgement. Everybody wants to be seen.
Well, one of the hashtags I use for Pursuit 365 quite often, and some of our terminology, is a community without borders.
I love that.
And a community without borders doesn't matter what country you're in, what race you are, what color your skin is, how you identify. We're all human. So
We
community
are
without borders. And if you can't be welcoming to everybody and kind to everybody, it's not going to work out. Not with us,
not
anyways.
going to work out.
Not going to work.
Well, with that, Shelley, I know we've kind of reached the time frame that we both had for this today, and I so appreciate you coming on to your own podcast and
Well, it's yours.
having this
Let's just put through
platform.
us. It's your podcast.
Well,
You take.
you
Excellent.
provided the opportunity and the platform, and I just want to say to also the community, the broader community, we have a lot of different channels. Just before we go, what are the other channels that we have on Pursuit 365
So we've got
podcast?
the spiritual, and then we've got the sex and relationships, and then we've got what's the other one? Oh yeah, home and design
Home
and
and
home.
design, yeah, and
Mhm.
then real
And then
estate and
yours,
finance and
yeah, real
entrepreneurial.
estate
Yeah,
and
and the
finance.
channel's really growing, so yay us.
Yay!
Um, and we'll do this again sometime. We'll check.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me, and we will chat very soon.
You bet. Take care,
Mwah.
Shelly.
Thank
Have a
you.
great weekend.
You too.
Take care.